we're going to show you the components of the TDR2 Turbo kit and also show you how they come together and how you prepare the turbo, the manifold, and the downpipe for installation. It's not complicated, it's actually quite simple. Once you watch this video, you should be able to do it without any problem. But of course, we're here. If you have any questions, you can always call. So first, a little bit about the anatomy of the turbo. This is Garrett GTX 2863. And basically the turbo has three components. It has the compressor housing, the center, which holds the two propellers, the turbine and the compressor propeller. And this is the turbine housing, which is an aftermarket turbine housing made by Tile. And they are attached together by means of these little studs and half moons. Hold it to this side and to this side, okay? And I'm actually going to remove it just to show you what it looks like. And you need three tools to do that. You need a 10 millimeter, a 13 millimeter, and a 19 millimeter. Now we use the 13 millimeter to basically remove the studs, and I've removed most of them already, so I just have one here, one on this side, and it just lifts up. Okay, that's the beautiful billet compressor wheel that works so well. Anyway, this is the compressor housing, and this is how it comes from Garrett. And then of course we have to do something to it. We attach this elbow here, and if yours did not come tab with the adapter for the pressure reading, just go ahead and do that and screw it right in there. This is very soft aluminum, so be careful when you tighten it. Don't over tighten it because it will strip. We have an anti-surge design here, so when air blows back in, actually it doesn't try to spin the propeller. It go in the route of less restriction and blow back into the intake. Okay, and your turbine wheel is attached, of course, by the 10 millimeter Iconel stud supply here, and we won't remove that, but anyway, that's how it goes. Okay, now the center housing is what of course receives oil. Oil goes in. This is the top, okay, and you know that's the top because you recognize the bottom. The bottom looks like this, and that's where you will attach, using the provided gasket, the oil drain line. So that goes here, and this goes here, and it gets put on together with the studs, and this goes in here. Okay, and of course the hose, and that end goes onto your oil pan. That's what drains the oil. Okay, so the top part is what receives the oil, and it receives the oil from an oil line that I will show you in a minute. But first I want to show you how do we get the oil in there. We get the oil in there with this little adapter. Now you're going to notice this is not a restrictor, okay, and that's exactly how we want you to do it. We have many problems throughout the years with oil leaking onto both sides, basically going through the seals because too much pressure built up into the turbo. We solved that problem, and we'll want to tell you how not to have that. So you have your fitting that goes on top. That's what receives the line, and then on the side are the ports for the coolant, and that's where these little fellows come into play. These are little banjo adapters. You see, water can come in through here, gets fed in here through a hose, and then goes right in here. So I want to install those. And that's where your 90 millimeter comes in handy. Don't tighten anything yet, okay? So let's put back the housing on, and just, you want to be careful with those delicate blades. You don't really want to touch them with anything. You don't want to bend them, so be very careful. And we're going to just put it just like that. Now you see how that fits very neatly in there. So we're just going to put one of these half moons to hold the housing together and protect a very delicate baby wheel. I don't recommend using power tools for this unless you're very careful, because it, of course, strips very easily. I'm going to put one on that side. I'm going to put one here. And you don't want to tighten this up too much, and I'll show you why in a minute. Okay. So once you get your turbo almost ready for setup, you will attach, of course, use your half moons and your Iconel studs for the turbine housing, and the ones provided for the compressor housing. We're going to get this a little bit tight just so we can turn it. But we really don't want to tighten it up all the way, just because you need to be able to rotate the housings in order to get things adjusted. All right, so before we get this on the manifold, let's talk a little bit about how we feed the oil on it. Let me just loosen this up a little bit so we can turn it. How we feed the oil onto the turbo. All right, we feed the oil on the turbo with these lines. You're going to get two lines, a sandwich adapter that goes between your oil filter and your block, and you're going to get an oil restrictor. So you basically have three fittings. Turbo, this one that goes right onto the sandwich adapter, okay, and then you have the lines. So what we want you to do is we want you to put on first the short line, okay, and we're going to put the oil restrictor, we know it's a very small hole, in between the two lines. So here's our second line. This is going to attach right here. This is not the right connector, but we'll have that for you. And this is what's going to feed the oil onto your turbo. We did many experiments. We actually had a pressure gauge and a pressure regulator and tried to find out how to avoid the leakage onto the turbo. And we realized that despite regulating the pressure, we're still having a leak. So that the solution was basically have the oil restrictor a few feet away from the entrance of the turbo. That way this line will be fed just by the small stream of oil that comes here, instead of that stream of oil just being sprayed directly onto the shaft. So that actually fixed our problem. Okay, so that's how you feed your oil into the turbo. Now let's talk about the drain. The drain, of course, goes on the bottom. This is the top. So this goes in the bottom with the gasket, the studs, and the oil drain line. The oil drain line, of course, hooks up over here and goes down into your oil pan. All right, so that's that for the oil. Now I'm going to show you how to attach the coolant banjos. Of course, one goes on each side. So you attach this first, and then you have some braided nylon cover steel hose that goes here, and one feeds water in, the other one takes water away. It doesn't matter which way. The important thing though is when the turbo is installed, you don't want these two to be completely level as such. You want them to be about a 10-degree angle so that when you shut off your engine, the convection, the heat from the turbo itself will get water moving through it. Okay, so we have oil in, oil out, coolant in, coolant out, or in or out, it doesn't matter. Now I'm going to show you how this fits on your turbo manifold. And here's, of course, we have our manifold, and the manifold has two B bands. This is where the turbo sits on top, and this is where you'll attach your beautiful tile wastegate. Here it is, and it comes with many different springs, and to change the spring determines your boost level. You just take the top off and use the appropriate combinations for springs, and of course this comes with its own B bands, and that's what attaches here. And I'll show you how that comes together in a minute. Okay, so you have your turbo, have your wastegate, and you have your downpipe. So let's imagine that this is attached to the block, this is top, this is down, okay, and this is your downpipe. So that goes right here, and your turbo is going to attach to the manifold like this. So you have your turbo here, and you have this little elbow facing down, okay, and that's where you use your B-band. B-band goes in the middle. This is what makes it such a clean system and so easy to put on and take off and change housing. So of course B-band uses a 11mm cup or wrench to attach, and then this attaches right here, and then you have your wastegate, which of course what happens is as you generate enough boost and enough pressure is built up, that opens up and allows that valve right there, beautiful, moves up and allows the exhaust to go back into the exhaust tube, and that hooks up just like that. And this little package unit that you see right here, that thing, this little thing right here, is what allows your engine to generate twice the power that came from factory. So really beautiful piece. Okay, so I will advise you first, get your turbo set up, ready to go. Once you remove your stock header from the car, bolt on your header first. Then go ahead and bolt on the header or the manifold with the wastegate already attached and ready to go, because this is going to be down, it's going to be hard to get to once you bolt on the manifold. All right. Next, you're going to attach the turbo on top. Attach it. You're going to use your B-band. Bam, clamp it right there. Turbo's attached. Okay. Next, you're going to attach your downpipe. B-band right here. Downpipe. Tighten it. Boom. You're done. Okay. And the next thing you're going to do is put your B-band right here. So attach here. Now you're all together. Now you get under the car, and you're going to attach this to your stock exhaust or aftermarket exhaust. The only thing you have to do is remove the donor gasket from your stock header, put it in here, and you're ready to go. You have space for your two oxygen sensors, and we'll put a flex hookup in here just to make it easier to adjust. And that's it. As you see, not a complicated system to put on together. Basically put it on together in 5 minutes. It might take you a little bit longer when you actually follow through and complete it, but we're confident you can do this. And either whether you do it yourself or you decide to have someone else do it, this video should help you into figuring how things are put together. Now, if you like, we can put it all together for you and send it a sample for an additional fee. We'd be glad to do that, and that just makes it very easy for installation as well as for removal. For those of you who are buying it just for track use only, such as California, Australia, and those are the places where any emission of carbon is heavily punished, you want to be able to remove it quickly. So to remove it from your car, let it cool down first. Remove V-band from here, remove V-band from here. This comes out. Okay. Remove header, put original header back on. On the other side of the engine, put an intake back on, stock injector, flash the car, and you're good to go as if you were stock. We're also planning on making a bypass tube in which you can actually just remove the turbo and have a tube bypass here. And of course, that might not be good for those of you who are actually visually inspected, but it provides another alternative. So this is the TDR Turbo kit, and we thank you for your purchase. And of course, we're here to support you 24/7. Any questions?